Welcome back into part two of Chess.com's new video series, How Vishy Anand Became a Five-Time World Chess Champion. With me, the star of the show, Vishwanathan Anand. And we're about to get into a big game here. We left our last video, Vishy, asking questions about whether you felt like you had arrived and as you jumped onto the international chess scene. Now you're playing for the highest stakes in the game, a World Chess Championship match versus Garry Kasparov. How nervous were you to go up against a legend who was already, I guess, considered by many to be the greatest player of all time at that time? What were your thoughts heading into this match before we even get into the amazingness that was Game 9?
Well, it was a very long journey. I mean, from the last game, I played a candidates interzonal and candidates match series in the 91-93 cycle. Where I qualified in the interzonal. I beat Drev in the first candidates match, and then I lost the second to Karpov very narrowly. Then 2 years later, I qualified for two different cycles, the FIDE cycle and the PCA cycle. In the FIDE cycle, I lost to Gatakamsky in the quarters, and then I beat Gatakamsky in the finals of the PCA.
People don't even remember that there was a FIDE and a PCA, which is a whole nother ball of wax. We're going to save that for Chess Politics Gone Wild, Rated R edition. That's another show. But sticking on to the chess, that's right. We should clarify that this World Championship match was the PCA World Championship match, right? And in fact, not
that's
too
right.
long
so
after
I rectified. I managed to make a huge. Sorry.
No, I was going to say there was another match between Kamsky and Karpov that would take place later this year, actually, that at that time was the FIDE World Championship match. So, anyway, continue. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was actually I was leading the FIDE match against Kamsky by 2 points. And if I had even pushed myself a little bit more, it could have been 3 points because I was winning in one of the games. And I was kind of careless about it and it slipped away. And I managed to lose that match. So I think that was the first shock. I mean, I don't know which is the dominant thread. Maybe I relaxed too early. Maybe I was not paying enough attention, whatever. But that was painful. Having said that, I prepared extremely well for the Kamsky match in Las Palmas in 95. Mm-hmm. I worked on my fitness. I did a lot of chess training, and in that match, it went very well. I'm bringing this up just to show that at each stage, there was a certain amount of learning, a certain amount of new training to be done, and so on. But it's hard to exaggerate how it felt when I got to Kasparov, because when I got to playing the World Championship match, after the euphoria winning the candidates had finished, I realized, normally you think your previous experiences help you face higher challenges. But then I realized the match with Garry was 20 games, which means it was as long as two of my previous matches in many cases. So an 8-game match and the 12-game match. And I was trying to improve my openings, for the level of scrutiny you'll face in a World Championship match. And once again, it felt like everything I would do was inadequate because the difference is so much. And you kept on thinking how much unused work he will have from his 5 matches with Karpov and his match with Nigel, how much unused work is sitting there. And here I'm doing everything for the first time and trying to catch up.
Right.
So that was the biggest shock. The second thing is because you have 3 or 4 months to get ready, you've actually got to pace yourself for the long term. You can't allow yourself to get too tense or emotional because it's a very long marathon and you should pace yourself to handle this tension over a very long time. The first 8 games of this match had gone according to plan. So I was heavily influenced by Short's experience, which is he lost the first game, he lost the third game, he lost the fourth game.
Yeah.
And basically, it was match over.
Right.
Before the match got started. In fact, after that, Nigel did a good job playing lots of interesting games. He put Garry under pressure everywhere. But it always felt hopeless because of the point of the score difference. Nothing he did would matter because even if he won a game or two, he would still be 3 points behind. And I was happy that, I felt that I should tend slightly to the cautious side in the beginning. First, I should grow in experience in the match till it felt sort of natural, without, playing passively or something, but just tend towards solidity, make sure I wasn't taking unnecessary risks right away till I felt at home. And so the first 8 games had gone well. In fact, I had missed a couple of chances. I had a clear win in game 3. And there were a couple of moments, interesting moments, but to be fair, it was going in both directions. And and I had a very good position in game 4. But this game gave me the feeling that things were going exactly according to plan. I had not panicked or anything. I took the results as they came. Even the missed opportunities I took in my stride and managed to win the game when the chance came. And at this moment, it seemed like the strategy had worked to perfection. Within 2 games, it felt like, in fact, the strategy hadn't worked at all. But that's another story.
But no, and we'll. I think we'll get into that, talk a little bit about it at the end. But it's fascinating to hear your view on, the ups and downs, the learnings of how you went into the match, and like you said, we're going to dive into this game 9. For those who don't know, it's an incredible game you're about to see, and we'll talk about that because as we got into it, Sicilian here, and I remember as someone who developed their repertoire trying to model you on the white side of the Sicilian. I think I've told you that, but I remember being like, whatever Vishy Anand does on the white side of the Sicilian, that's what you do, whether it's the English attack or as later would become very, very popular, or even your approach here against the Najdorf with the Bishop E2 line. Did you already feel like you were becoming, I don't want to say the world expert on this, or was it just something that naturally, because you're going up against one of the best Sicilian players of all time, Kasparov, you had to be really prepared in these lines? Tell me a little bit as we get to this kind of very well-known position, right? Inishev and Ingen structure on the white side of the open Sicilian Najdorf, how comfortable and confident you were feeling in the position against Gary.
Okay, we had actually prepared 2 different setups.
Okay.
One was the English attack, and we did a lot of work there. And the second was Bishop E2. And the reason I switched to Bishop E2, if you like, is Patrick Wolf, who was my second. By the way, my team had doubled from the candidates, so you get an idea. For the candidates final, I had 2 people. Now it was 4.
Yep.
Patrick Wolf told me, look, I've got very, very good notes here. I have done a lot of work in this thing. It's a platform, something, the foundation to build on. And I think this is a good way of putting pressure on him in the beginning. And then the idea was actually we could switch to the English attack or something sharper at a later stage. In fact, I wouldn't really get that chance.
Right.
But that's why I did this, even though the problem is finding something which Gary has never played. In fact, he has, in the Sicilian, he's faced almost everything at least once. So this was as reasonable a choice as any, and we had done good work and were ready to play.
Well, you said you had notes and help from Patrick Wolf, and you also had tried multiple moves in this position. What were you deciding of multiple moves? Is it because you were trying to poke and prod, do anything you could to use those notes or to try to get Gary in an uncomfortable spot? For example, rather than Bishop D3, which you had already tried, as well as I think Queen D3, what led you to play Bishop F3 in this game?
Well, I had played Bishop D3 a couple of times already, and it felt like it was drying up. We had some interesting nuances in Bishop D3, but they were used up. In game 3, Gary actually stumbled, and I had a winning position, like I mentioned, if I had converted it properly. And Bishop F3, we sort of felt was the main move. It was the conclusion that Karpov and Kasparov had come to as well, that at the end, Bishop F3 is the main line. Okay. The line that poses the most problems for black. And so we kind of ended up there. I don't know how much longer I would have done this, even if Gary had stuck to the knight off. But this was his last knight off in the match.
So you didn't get more chances for an English attack. No. Anyway, but knight b3 is kind of a common idea here, right? You're removing black's option to perhaps trade in a lot of positions and maybe strike. But so this is all theory, though, right? So I won't stop and pretend to be more of an expert than you unless you stop me and you want to highlight anything. Pretty typical stuff. Although this move here, Rook FD1, not the most intuitive move that meets the eye. You want to talk a little bit about this idea here?
Okay, so basically what white is doing is waiting, and black as well. Kasparov's last move, Rook A8, looks mysterious. I mean, why wouldn't you put it on C8, right?
Right.
And the thing is, it's all got to do with if Rook A8, I'm going to play E5. And at the end, I'm going to take on B7 and take on A6, something like along those lines.
Right, and there's also some tenderness here, maybe some weird tactics or something. But
yeah, maybe possibly with Bishop F4 or Bishop D4 and so on. So he went Rook A D8. Of course, Bishop C6 is a more natural move than Rook A D8. But then my B4 idea works.
Ah, okay. So
because if queen takes B4, then I'm trapping his queen with Rook FB1. Rook AB1 works as well, and Bishop B6, and the queen has run out of squares.
Nice. Okay.
So that's kind of the thing. White is just playing a waiting game till black has to play Bishop C6, and black runs out of moves. So after Rook A8, Rook FD1 is simply passing the move back to Gary and saying, make a move. He cannot move his queen back from A5 because then I'll play A5 myself if he goes to C7, let's say. I play a5 myself and I'm punching on the b6 square. So in a way, I'm trying to make black run out a move.